used to think cabins cured everything. City stress, marriage static, the kind of tired that sleep never solves. You drive past a last gas station that doubles as a diner, climb into the pines, and the world gets simple: heat, food, snow. Then I learned simple things can kill you if someone sets them that way. I'm Adam Cole, 40. I run a small transport outfit out of Sacramento airport runs, winery tours, church vans on Sundays if the regular driver is sick. It's not glamorous, but our sprinters are clean. Our drivers don't play podcasts at you, and the phone keeps ringing. My wife is Larissa, 31. Social media manager for a wellness brand that sells a box of stones and a booklet about intentional mornings. When we met, the stones looked like a joke we could both laugh at. Later, she called them tools and corrected me when I said crystals. That's a small sentence that says too much. By December, our home felt like a house staged for someone else. Larissa moved through rooms like she was auditioning for a life I couldn't afford. She started signing us up for little luxuries: a leased crossover whose hood line looked like it scowled, a pair of skis with a mountain logo that costs as much as some people's rent, a coffee subscription that taught beans how to be smug. Then one Wednesday, she leaned against the counter, sipped her oat milk like a sponsor, and said, "We need to reset the spark, babe." I booked a cabin at Tahoe for a long weekend. Just us. "Since when do you book?" I asked, trying to make it playful. "Since I care," she said too quickly. "Also, can you call the lawyer about updating your will? It's just good housekeeping. Simplify everything. The business, the house. If anything ever happens on the road..." "I drive vans, not Formula One," I said, "and we don't need to talk wills to drink cocoa." She smiled in a way that skipped my eyes. "Good partners handle details," she said, and kissed me like a punctuation mark. The first bells started stupid small. She set the thermostat at home to away, even when we were there, because she read a thread about heat discipline. She ordered a carbon monoxide detector with a review count that looked like a weird cult, and when it arrived, she put it in the garage and forgot to open the box. She started wearing her watch to sleep to track recovery, and then turned off the notifications because it's noisy at night. The week we left, a letter arrived from our insurer. "We received your request to update the beneficiary on policy to Larissa Cole as sole recipient. Notification only, no action required if correct." I hadn't made a request. When I asked Larissa about it, she said, "I filled a form when we refinanced. It's normal, in the tone people use when they want tone to outrun substance." We drove to Tahoe on a Friday morning that looked like a calendar photo blue sky bragging over mountains. The cabin Larissa found was a stunner. Glass A-frame facing the lake, a stone fireplace that wanted you to like it, a drawer full of board games that have taught couples to hate each other. The rental listing called it ultra-modern rustic, which is a polite way to say expensive wood. "Welcome to our retreat," Larissa said, wheeling in a suitcase that could carry a small friend. I started the check-in routine I've done in 100 rentals for work and for us. Keys? On the hook. Wi-Fi? A laminated sign under a bowl of pine cones? Thermostat? A unit that talks to your phone. Smoke and carbon monoxide detectors? I scanned the ceilings on instinct, the way you do when you've loaded too many vans in community centers to leave safety to vibes. 2 smoke alarms blinked green near the living room and stair landing. No carbon monoxide unit on the main floor. The downstairs hallway had a place where something used to be. 2 screw anchors in drywall, circular outline like a tan line. I found a battery-operated detector in a basket under the sink, face down, no battery. I held it up. "Oh," Larissa said from the bedroom. "That thing was chirping like crazy when I did the walkthrough. I must have pulled it down to swap batteries and forgot." "You pulled it down?" I asked. "When?" "Yesterday," she said. "The homeowner asked me to check the fridge and reset the water heater." She said it like she'd been elected cabin mayor. "You have the homeowner's number?" I asked. "I messaged on the platform," she said. "Stop being suspicious, Adam. We needed this." I put a battery in the unit because my hands know how to do that even when my brain is busy. It beeped once and flashed red, then green. I mounted it back on its screws with an annoyance I tried not to show. Carbon monoxide isn't a theory in my head, it's a story everyone in this part of the country knows, or should know. It's odorless, lethal, and favors people who sleep through their lives. You don't joke with it. The cabin had a sealed gas wall heater with an eco setting and a glass fireplace with a timer. Larissa fussed with both like she was setting a mood. We snacked, unpacked, and stood on the deck doing the thing people do when mountains make them feel both tiny and rich. "Tomorrow is my girl day," she said suddenly. "Spa, sauna, you ski alone, find yourself." She laughed. "I booked you a lesson with an instructor. It'll be fun." "You booked me a lesson," I repeated. "You never take lessons," she said. "You figure it out. It's cute until you're 40 on a green run, sweating like you owe it money." I shrugged. "If it's booked, it's booked." "Cool," she said. "What time is your will appointment on Monday?" The word will clanked coming out of her mouth. "I'll email Stan," I said. "He's got a waiting room with magazines from 2012. That night, the weather sank. We ate a stew from a rustic jar and pretended it was a recipe. Larissa poured wine and played a playlist called Cabin Glow. We kissed, we laughed, we even made a decent version of who we used to be, but something about her eyes stayed elsewhere, like there was another camera in the room we were playing to. Around 1 in the morning, a headache slid behind my eyes like a careful thief. Not the tight band that coffee fixes. This one had weight. I stood to get water, and my knees wobbled like I'd moved too fast in a small airplane. "You good?" Larissa asked, not looking up from her phone. "Lightheaded," I said. "What's the heater set to?" "It's chilly," she said. "Relax. It's the altitude." We went to bed with the heater humming the way a sleeping dog hums, a sound that could be comfort or warning depending on what you know. I woke at 3 to a nausea that felt like the flu had tripped and fallen downstairs. The headache had bloomed. My vision did a soft tunnel. Sweat found my back even though the air was cold. I sat up and heard something that wasn't sound, more like absence. The chirp I'd expect from a battery test hadn't happened. The red-green wink of a detector wasn't winking. The heater's flame looked wrong, lazy orange, a student skipping class. My phone buzzed on the nightstand with a notification I didn't understand at first. HomeKit alert, alarm muted in bedroom. Another ping, a text from an unknown number. Turn off the alerts, it's noisy. The message showed as a reply in a thread I wasn't part of. Larissa's phone lit briefly with the same message, preview only, as if forwarded, then went dark. "Larissa," I said, too loud, "did you disable an alarm?" She rolled over, annoyed. "I turned off the sound," she mumbled. "It wouldn't stop." "Wouldn't stop what?" My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like it was being shot through cotton. The room swayed. It wasn't altitude. It was a wall moving an inch to the left to see if I'd notice. I stood, sat back down, stood again. The doorway was far. The air felt heavy, like a thought you can't finish. I touched the wall, and it was cooler than it should have been near a heater. That made no sense. Nothing made sense. Head pounding, nausea climbing my throat, I decided to stop thinking and follow training. I didn't know I had. Go outside. "Where are you going?" Larissa asked, voice flat like a phone on speaker. "For air," I said, and that's when a part of my brain that still had oxygen did a thing I'm proud of. It grabbed my car keys and my phone. The world narrowed to a hallway and a door. My fingers fumbled the lock twice like I didn't live in hands. Cold hit my face in a way that felt like a slap I needed. The night was knife clear. I inhaled and my lungs said, yes. Behind me, the house exhaled a warmth that suddenly looked like a trap. I dialed 911 with the exactness that same part of my brain uses to enter a DOT number into a compliance portal. 911? What's your emergency? Possible carbon monoxide exposure, I said, and the words came clean as if I'd been rehearsing them. Rental cabin near Tahoe Vista. One person inside, one outside. Headache, nausea, dizziness. Detectors dismantled. Gas heater. Stay outside, the operator said. Help is on the way. Do not re-enter. Can you wake the person inside by calling out? I yelled, Larissa! But yelling is a lousy delivery mechanism for oxygen. She didn't answer. The operator said, Do not go back in. They're minutes out. Minutes are long when the house you share with someone is maybe trying to eat them. I stood there arguing with a door without opening it, feeling both coward and husband, until a fire engine threw light across the snow like daylight trying to pretend. Firefighters moved fast in that slow way that says they've already seen this. One of them, a woman with a calm face that makes rooms obey, shouted, Who called? I raised my hand. They put a mask on me before I could argue. Another crew member went inside with a meter that chirped in a way that made my skin crawl. Elevated CO, he said, strong at the wall heater, alarm units disabled. The calm-faced firefighter looked me in the eye. You did right. Stay out here. They brought Larissa out wrapped in a blanket, confused, angry in that way people get when their body betrays their mouth. They put her on oxygen. She swatted at the mask like it was a rude joke. I'm fine, she said, sounding like someone underwater. Ma'am, the firefighter said, your CO levels are high. Breathe, he said. Breathe like a commandment. Larissa looked over the mask at me and tried to roll her eyes. It came out like a child's tantrum. My head throbbed in tempo with the engine's strobe. The fire captain asked me a series of questions I answered in a string, symptoms when they started, what I saw, what I touched. He wrote everything down like a man who knows paper holds later. Inside, they shut off gas to the heater and opened every window like they were trying to throw a ghost out. The meter chirped down. The captain emerged holding the battery from the downstairs detector in a gloved hand. Who removed this? He asked. The homeowner didn't mention any maintenance, I said. Somebody removed it, he said. The upstairs one is off the base too, and your thermostat was set to a continuous cycle that ignores the CO cutoff. I didn't set that, I said. My voice came out slow. He nodded like people say that. He wrote again. An ambulance tech took our vitals and names for a report that would later become Exhibit A in a story I never wanted. Larissa's eyes cleared as oxygen did its work. She started to cry. This is so embarrassing, she said. I must have messed with the wrong battery. Ma'am, the captain said, flat. Batteries don't reprogram thermostats. When the fire crew left, he handed me a copy of the incident report with codes and terms I pretended to understand. You both should get checked at the ER, he said. CO is a thief. We're fine, Larissa said, clinging to fine, like a brand. Thank you. After they drove off, Larissa turned to me with a rehearsed face. I'm sorry, she said. I panicked. The chirping. The chirping saved us, I said. Why was it off? I don't know, she said. I was trying to make a mood. A mood. The word landed wrong. Everything landed wrong. We went to a 24-hour clinic, and the nurse told us our levels were elevated, not disaster high, but high enough to make you stupid. No sleeping in there tonight, she said. We booked a hotel near Kings Beach, and I sat in a clean room with a carpet that tried too hard, and my hands shook so hard, I had to hold them. At 5 a.m., Larissa's phone buzzed on the nightstand. She was asleep, or acting, mouth open slightly like a freight elevator. The screen lit with a notification from an email account I didn't recognize, larissa.private, Proton. The subject line, Saturday 10 a.m., Women's Day. The preview, coach says, congrats again. Lesson moved to 10 a.m., paid in full. Under that, another alert from a calendar I hadn't seen before, OB referral week 8, check-in. Then a text came in from a number labeled K. It said, "Watch your alerts next time, almost blew it." I stared at the name K like it was a letter in a language I'd never wanted to read. Coach. Lesson. Week 8. Almost blew it. All those words sat together like a family you avoid at reunions. I didn't unlock her phone. I didn't have her code. I opened my email instead, typed her name into the search bar, and watched autofill suggest a dozen strings I'd seen on receipts and invitations. I clicked one from the ski resort. "Thank you for booking a private lesson with Kirk, Saturday 10 a.m. Meet at base 2. The note field read, "Surprise gift client is nervous." The receipt showed Larissa's card. The PDF printed by my brain as proof I didn't want. At 9:30, Larissa dressed in leggings and a sweater you can only wear when you assume indoor heat will handle your life. "Spa day," she said, forcing cheer. "Text me your instructor's name so I can laugh later." "Already have it," I said. "Kirk." She froze for half a second. "Must be common," she said lightly. "See you at dinner." When she left, I didn't follow her to the spa. I went to base 2. I stood near the lesson sign with a coffee I didn't drink. At 10 sharp, a guy with a resort jacket and a smile you can only maintain when tips are reliable skied to a stop. His name tag, KIRK. He looked over my shoulder like he was waiting for a gift to be delivered. 5 minutes later, Larissa slid up, cheeks pinked by something other than weather. She didn't see me. Kirk did. He softened like a dog that knows who feeds it. They talked close. He touched her elbow like he'd been given clearance to land there. She laughed in the way you laugh when you're trying to transfer warmth from someone else's life into yours. I felt unsteady, then steady in a newer way. A woman passed me carrying a child in a tiny snowsuit. He waved at nothing and said, "Hi." I waved back because I am not a monster. I didn't interrupt them. That sounds weak. It wasn't. It was me deciding on facts instead of theater. I took my phone out and photographed a sign behind them. Base 2 private lessons. Time, date, 2 faces you could put names to. Then I walked to a trail map and stared at it until I could breathe. Larissa texted an hour later, "Spa running long." "Make yourself at home," I wrote back. "Will do." Then I went back to the cabin with a locksmith from the rental company to let us in and get our things because the door code had reset itself for safety, according to a message from owner support that came from an email domain that didn't look like any platform I've used as a host. Our stuff was where we left it. The heater was off. The windows the firefighters had opened were now closed. The detectors were present, mounted, quiet. The incident report sat on the counter under a magnet that read SLO down. I took photos of the downstairs unit scuffs, the screw holes, the sticker backing that showed it had been recently pried off. I photographed the thermostat menu, a setting buried 3 screens deep, override continuous cycle, ON. I took photos of a text on Larissa's laptop that had been left open. "Turn off the alerts, it's noisy," sent from her to Kay. I didn't touch the laptop. I photographed the screen like I photograph an odometer when a client swears we never picked them up. We drove home that afternoon in a silence that tasted like a penny under the tongue. Larissa slept to the rhythm of mountain roads, or pretended, breathing a little too carefully. On Monday, I sat in our lawyer's office and said a sentence I thought I'd never say. "I'd like to speak to someone in law enforcement." Stan nodded in that old state way some lawyers have. Like this is what they were born to do. He made a call. We met a detective who listens like it's a gift he gives you. I slid the fire report across the table. He read without interrupting. I slid photos of the detectors. He nodded. I mentioned the thermostat override. He wrote. I said, "Insurance letter I didn't initiate." He asked if I had it. I did. I handed over the email. I handed over nothing about Kirk except his first name and time and day and a photo with a sign, because that was enough. "Do you believe your wife attempted to harm you?" he asked. Not eager, not indulgent. "I believe a carbon monoxide alarm shouldn't be off," I said. "I believe a heater shouldn't be overridden. I believe an insurance policy update I didn't request and a will update I didn't ask for. Create a line I'm not dumb enough to ignore." He nodded. "We'll open a case," he said. "The fire report helps. The thermostat setting helps. We'll need statements. Do not confront her. Do not threaten. Do not move out without a plan. I hired a criminal attorney to advise me about your rights when your life suddenly feels like a tutorial you didn't study for. I hired a family attorney to draft a parenting plan because if I'm going to rebuild my life, I'm building it around my kid know better ring to build a house inside." I met a detective at the cabin 2 days later. He walked the place with the fire captain and took their language into his own report. "Tampering," he said, "like a word you don't want on your team." Larissa tried to make daily life bigger than this. She made smoothies. She put an inspirational quote on our fridge. "You are exactly where you're meant to be." I took it down because carbon monoxide doesn't care about Pinterest. I asked her to move to her sister's house for a while we sort the heater thing out, and she said, "Of course," like she was generous. In her absence, I found a drawer where she had kept a second phone. I didn't unlock it. I photographed it next to a post-it that said K10 AM. It felt like propping a door with a brick. Then, the reveal you think you're prepared for, and you're not. Larissa asked to meet at a cafe near the courthouse. She arrived pale without makeup, the brand peeled back. "I'm pregnant," she said. First line, eyes on mine like the announcement deserved a confetti cannon. "How far?" I asked. 8 weeks, she said. "We can make this work," she added quickly, like she could outrun math. "Is it mine?" I asked, so calm I frightened myself. She inhaled like she was diving. "I don't know," she whispered, and I believe that's the only honest sentence she said in that cafe. I nodded. "We'll test when it's safe," I said. "If it's mine, I'll be a good father. If it's not, I'll be a good adult." She blinked. "You'd still—" "I'm not a pet project," I said. "I'm a person, and so is a baby. We don't lie about names." She started to cry. People in cafes don't like the sound of adult tears. They pretend to read. I sat there and watched a life I'd been driving peel off at an exit I didn't choose. 2 weeks later, the detective called. "We're bringing charges," he said. "Tampering with safety devices, reckless endangerment. The DA believes the thermostat programming and the insurance evidence support intent. We'd like you to come in." I went in with my lawyer and the fire captain's report in a neat folder. I told the truth, the kind that doesn't need adjectives. I said a sentence that felt like it belonged to a better man than me. I don't want vengeance. I want safety. Whatever protects the next man from walking into a room set wrong, that's the thing I want. Larissa turned herself in with an attorney who looked younger than this required. She took a plea eventually to something with a name that made the news not bother because crimes that don't explode don't trend. Kirk's name showed up in a witness list that never had to testify because prosecutors love paper and paper loved me. We tested the baby when we could. It wasn't mine. That was a sentence and a relief and a grief. I stood in a hallway with a vending machine and texted Arthur 2 words, "Not mine," and he replied with 3, "I've got you." I walked out into a Sacramento afternoon that smelled like a tire shop and a bakery, which is the smell of a life that keeps happening. I moved into a small place with bad carpet and a porch that burns your feet in July. My daughter sleeps there half the week and leaves hair ties everywhere like little lifelines. I sold the crossover because I like seeing the road in front of me, not being told what it's named. I kept the skis because some gear doesn't get to be a villain. I had the cabin incident framed in a way only I see. Just the words. Alarm units disabled, under glass behind my desk. When clients ask, I say it's a reminder to check your vans, your detectors, your assumptions. People ask what I learned and they expect something about trusting your gut. My gut got me to the door, sure. But what kept me alive was a checklist and a phone and a decision to call someone whose job is to show up without drama. I'm not brave, I'm boring. Boring saved me. Whoever needs to read this, carbon monoxide is not a storyline, it's gas. Detectors go on, not in a cabinet. Thermostats don't program themselves. Turn off the alerts, it's noisy, is a sentence that should get you out of bed faster than any alarm. I didn't make an Instagram about any of this. I didn't stand in a courtroom for catharsis. I let reports do the job. I let professionals be boring on my behalf. I let a baby find the right name without me pretending. And when I go to the mountains now, I bring my own detector in my bag. It chirps once when I test it. A promise, not a mood. What would you have done? Confronted her at the mountain, or kept it quiet and built a clean case? Would you have walked away the moment the pregnancy wasn't yours? Drop your take below. And if stories like this hit you, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.